Okay, now welcome everybody for my first Facebook Live broadcast from my studio here in Amsterdam. As I mentioned before, these videos are meant for you guys, for the EWI players, for the EWI players, for the wind synthesis players, to have a glimpse about who I am and what I do with this instrument. I have some questions that I received already, which I'm going to be addressing on this first broadcast. And I'll be doing some playing, of course, and obviously if there's any questions as we go along, then I would try my best to address them. So I hope this goes well. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I have no idea if it's going to work out properly or not. But I'll hold my fingers, do yours as well, and let's do this. So I'll start with playing some music, maybe show you how I practice. And then we'll see how we go from there. Okay. So, just saying that I'll start with that. That practicing with the EWI, of course, is very, very, very inspirational to me on my personal work, and the reason for that is because you have the whole orchestra under your hands. Everything is there, and I think that anything that you do with that, first of all, it cancels the functionality of a soloist instrument as we usually are. So if I play an EWI, I don't think like a so-called saxophone, clarinet, flute player who plays one note at a time. But actually, I can play chords, and I can play bass lines, and I can play top lines, and I could play harmony, I could play a lot of things. Those possibilities, obviously, on one hand, can also defocus you on things that you do, because you're getting, you're getting crazy with all the possibilities there are. But on the other hand, what it really does, and I found it always very interesting, and I believe this is really one of the key things about the EWI, is that it cancels functionality. What I do with this instrument is only the notes are only the means of creating this, of sending an information to create sound. But the sound carries me somewhere else. As a saxophone player, which I come from saxophone, I always felt that when I saw keyboard players, guys, famous musicians, from the jazz world in this particular case, because that's where I come from, that they play different. Now, play different is, what do you mean when you say play different? They don't play in the same way they play on an acoustical instrument. They don't play in the same way they'll play on a piano, because the sound gives you means of playing in a different dynamical world, articulative world. It gives you an opportunity to play a wider range, to play softer or harder, or one note at a time, two notes at a time. The sound itself evolves, it moves. So obviously depends on which type of sound you're playing. You can find yourself getting into different places, language-wise. And that's what really triggers me when I play, especially when I practice, is that I play and I'm trying to think with my imagination. And this is only just the technique, let's say, that I know from how I play notes on a woodwind instrument. But anything else than that, that's completely, I'm completely somewhere else. Today I'm using a couple of instruments which I would like to share with you. The first one is that the main instrument that I play is this old school EWI, the EWI 1000. And at the bottom of the screen you can see the module there. That's its module called the EMV 2000. And what I really like about this synth is that this synth is analog, it's fully analog. Now, what does it mean when you say fully analog? It means that actually there are electrical circuits moving in the instrument, and they actually oscillate the oscillators which create the sound. And it's all done analog style, which is with electricity, not with digital VSTs or other things which are usually using the computer side of things, which is zeros and ones. It's not digital, it's fully analog. The challenge about playing this instrument is that this instrument feels every time different when you play it. So you always have to adjust. Somewhat like a real instrument, as a matter of fact. Like a saxophone or a clarinet. So it feels, all the time it feels different. It feels that you always have to be aware of how you sound, and it always feels like you have to be aware of where you're going with it. There's a lot of fine-tuning in this instrument, but on the other hand, because of that, it sounds human. And for me, and I'm speaking personally only because it depends on what you like, I really dig analog machineries and when it comes to EWI. But, there's a but. As time went on, a lot of VSTs came on the market, which I heard many players play them and they sound terrific. And I actually just got my hands on, if you can see it, let me see, right there. This one's called the Respiro, and that's a synth, a VST synth, I'm sorry, from a guy named Rudy that lives in Belgium. His company's name is Imoxplus, and he basically, what he did, he used, as far as my understanding, he took everything that concerned physical modeling of character of instruments and gave them a way to be heard. So maybe I'll play you a sound, see if it comes out. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let me just cancel that real quick. Right, so let me check another one here. For example, this. For those who are familiar with the VL70M from Yamaha, the old module they created back in the 80s for their own controller, this is somewhat of a step further and the continuation of that. The sounds that I'm using right now are the sounds that I got from Eli Benacot. He made a terrific bank of sounds for these, and I think they sound great. I've yet personally to really dig into this software because I just got it maybe 2 days ago. So I'm kind of like playing it right now as is, and I'm checking it out and see how that feels. But I can tell you definitely that this one strikes to me as a very potential software when it comes to physical modeling, especially if you combine it together with analog sound. So what I'm doing right now, I'm playing the EWI with this together. I media it out, and I combine it in a mixer with some reverb and some personal effects, whatever. You get a very interesting sound, a very nice combination between some sort of a flutish type of instrument and a synthesizer analog. So I'll make you the judge of that, obviously, but check out how it sounds. So I'm just gonna take a bit of that Respiro, and I'll take a bit of the EWI. Let's see how that sounds. So sounds very undefined in some way, right? I mean, what is it? Are you playing a flute? Are you playing a synthesizer? Are you playing, is it a plane? Is it a train? What is it? It is what you make out of it, and this is the bottom line. And that's what I want to try to say. It's undefined. What you hear is me, and the sound that you hear is me. So, in other words, my name is Itai Weissman, and I play the Respiro phone, to be said. And nobody can take it away from me, because the sound that I play is the sound that I play, that I created, which inspires me to play in this particular way. And it's very dynamic and very expressive. And it's mine. So, when it comes to sound, this instrument gives me a lot of ideas. And it gives me a lot of inspiration as well, back to my saxophone as well, because I am a saxophone player as well. So that's a different thing, obviously. But the way, the EWI, the way that I explored the EWI and the way that I got to explore the EWI, helped me to rethink also my phrasing on my saxophone. As a matter of fact, when you talk about flow, this instrument made me think more fluidly on the saxophone. In terms of big phrases, long phrases, up and down the horn. Because there's something about the EWI and the way that it's constructed, and once you get the whole idea behind it, the whole technical idea behind it, then it starts to feel very easy to play it, and there's some sort of a flow that comes with that, and then it's easy just to like. I don't know, something like that. It's a sort of a flow. I'm not really thinking when I'm playing. I'm just running down with my fingers on certain type of phrases that I got on my hands. But it's just it's very easy. So if I just try to translate that back to the saxophone, then I would suppose it will sound pretty hip. I would think so. So. So that's kind of like the way that I start my practice sessions. I like to jam with myself and practice and try things out, and even without going too much into the technical things about it, because I don't think it's some people like that. I'm less into that. I'm like more into trying to figure out what the sound can do for you, how you can make it musical, and by doing that, obviously, because I'm running a DAW, which is Logic at this particular point, anything could be recorded, anything could be MIDI'd, anything could be used for further composition, arranging, and anything that you think of and imagine of. Key essence of the EWI is imagination, because I think this instrument takes, especially me and the whole idea of woodwind playing, into a total different world. It tosses to a different side, a different thing, and the attitude is just amazing, and what you get out of it is amazing. And I would say that it's also important, I think, for you to try it out. Okay, so as part of this broadcast that I'm doing once a week, I've asked colleagues of mine and friends of mine, and also I will ask you guys later, to ask me questions about certain things they would like to know. About me, about the EWI, about me and the EWI. And I have a couple of questions, and I'll start with Marc Steiner. Marc Steiner is a colleague, is a good friend, EWI player. He is very much involved with Respiro, as a matter of fact, and with creating mouthpieces for the new EWI. He's working closely with a guy named Johan Berland on the new designs for the new EWIs, which are coming out these days under his company, Berland Instruments. And he was very kind of him to send me a couple of questions, so I will just read it out for you guys, and then I'll answer them. So, he asks me, do you like breath sensitivity to be light and easy, or harder, more firm? And what's the pros and cons of that? The answer would be that I like my breath sensitivity. For those of you who don't understand what it is, or maybe it sounds too complicated, breath sensitivity is basically the sensor that translates the air pressure that I give into the instrument to volume, to expression. So, and this can be, of course, changed. It could be very sensitive, less sensitive, more rejective, or less rejective. So, personally speaking, as a player, I like my breath sensitivity to be rejective, so hard. Why? Two reasons. The first reason, because it emulates the physicality of a saxophone, which I play as well, and I like that. I have a harder time playing on a easy reed or a very open mouthpiece, because I like to play on harder reeds and smaller mouthpieces, because this is just the way I'm used to the physicality of it. And the second thing is that when you have more resistance, then the range of dynamics expands, right? So what does it mean? It means if you blow into a hole, imagine, and the hole is very big, right? It's very easy to blow. But the problem is that you don't have any range of control between very soft to very loud. So the more it becomes harder, you have much more range that you can play with. Otherwise, it goes immediately to forte and double forte and so forth. So, and that's less of my liking. I like this way to be more rejective, so I can control dynamics much better. Also, it gives me, well, as I said before, the physicality of it is just very interesting for me, and I think this is kind of how it emulates in my own imagination. I do know that a lot of players do that as well, so this is not something that is not new. And they, as far as I understand, they mention the same reason about it. So that's the thing. Let's see if I have another question. I think he sent me another one. Another question he sent me was, what is the strangest context music type situation you have used the EWI in? The most strangest context. Well, for me personally, nothing is strange and nothing is weird to play the EWI with, but maybe for people that saw me play the EWI, is that I had a project once with a couple of good friends of mine in the film museum in Amsterdam. It's called the I film, and there we were supposed to play live music that we composed and performed live during a silent movie from the 20s. Now the situation was that it was together with a great friend of mine, a great musician, guitar player named Eran Arevan, and I believe the first drummer that played that show was Borislav Petrov, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Anyway, there was a drummer and Harman Fani on piano, which is a pianist. So it was an EWI, guitar, drums, and piano. Obviously a bassless band. So that meant immediately that I had or could take the role of a bass player. Eran, which was playing a guitar, could also take the role of a bass player with using his pedals. And what we went for the music was kind of like anything between electronical, acoustical, emulated acoustical instruments, a bit classical, a bit jazz, a bit fusion, a bit all of that, etc. stuff. So people were blown away because they didn't understand what's happening, because they heard all these sounds, all these flutes and clarinets, and suddenly tubas, and suddenly orchestra, string quartets coming out from somewhere. They didn't understand what's happening. So obviously they figured that I'm responsible for all these sounds that are coming out, and I had to explain it to a lot of people over there, because they were just blown away. What's happening? How can you do all of this kind of stuff? And I had to explain them how I do it, basically. What's funny enough is that the EWI is a very expressive instrument. Its expression makes it very unique. It's the most unique controller in terms of the dynamics and expression in the world today, as far as I understand and know. Correct me if I'm wrong. The results that you can achieve with this instrument with the right type of playing, and right type of playing is will be like more awareness and imagination. you can make it sound very musical, and that can that could convince a lot of people that this is a real instrument rather than just a toy or you know, whatever. So that's maybe the weirdest situation that I ever played on the EWI with. Besides that, I played on all my projects, so I wouldn't, you know, for me it's like second nature by now. So, thank you Marc Steiner for these questions. There are more questions from him, but I will address it in the next broadcast, because I want to address some other questions I received. The other question that I received was from one of my favorite EWI players in the world. His name is Eli Benacot, which I had the privilege to study with, actually the EWI with, for many years back in my teens. And that was around starting from 20 years ago to about 10 years ago. So like for 10 years I studied with him since I was 15 to 25. I asked him to give me a question because he saw me that I'm playing on this 1000, and he told me, hey man, can you maybe explain a bit why you play this 1000? So as I said before in the beginning of the broadcast, I like this instrument because it's fully analog, and when you play a fully analog instrument, it doesn't behave the same all the time, like a real instrument. And the way that it's been designed, and the way that it's been made, and everything that's about it, from the mouthpiece up to the whole idea of how it works, feels to me very, let's say, very vivid, because it really feels like a real instrument. I don't know if you ever played EWIs in general. If you did play EWIs or any other controllers, this one feels real. It's fully metal with some plastic, but the whole design of it and how it feels under your hand, first of all, it feels real. It feels like it's a thing, you know. It's not like a plasticky type of controller or squeaky type of controller. It feels really, really strong and firm when you hold it. The mouthpiece is also very different from the new mouthpieces of the 4000 and 5000, and they are much more, let's put it this way, they are made maybe simpler than the other ones, I'm not sure, but they are very thick and they're firm and they're big, so it really emulates that mouthpiece, saxophone mouthpiece, much better, I think, than any other controllers out there, even on the EWIs themselves. And the sound is VCO'd, so I mean, you cannot go wrong with that. It cannot get any better than that. You can play all the sounds in the world, you can play all the keyboards today, but when you go and you play a Prophet 5, or when you play a Mini Moog, or when you play an ARP, or all these guys, you feel the difference already, because it's something about just the way that it's built and the way that it drives the sound. It just sounds for real. It's not actually updated with some other functions that the new EWIs have, such as the sustain function and the octave function and some of the polyphonic-ish functions that are there. Obviously, you have to carry a module with it. It carries its own cable. Then starts the whole carrying stuff. So it's less comfortable if you're just in the mood to play some lead sounds. But when it comes to quality, personally speaking, I can definitely tell you that this is the best sounding EWI I ever heard up till now. So let me see. So these broadcasts, as a matter of fact, are going to be once a week. I'm going to do them on Mondays. I still have to figure out the times because of the time differences around the world. I know that I've been a bit not so careful with that, so there's a big chance that what you're saying right now was not meant to be originally in this time, but I will figure it out the way that it goes, and hopefully I will find a better time for everybody to see it. Anyway, this has been recorded, and I will always post it on my Facebook page or on my website, www.vmusemedia. That's vmuzmedia.com. Any questions you guys have, anything, doesn't matter what, any questions that you guys have, please share. These broadcasts are made for you. They are made from me to you because I would like to share my experience that I have. I want to spread the word out there with this instrument. And your questions help me to build these broadcasts, to build these videos in a better ways, because I can always plan it in ahead which question I'll address, and maybe I'll play, maybe I'll show, maybe I'll chat about it. Please send questions. Questions can be sent on my messenger, on my Facebook page, or on my email, which is info@vimuzmedia.com. That's about it for now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was very interesting to you, and I'll see you guys next week. Ciao.